Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea. Welcome back to another high-level professional game. Today in the bottom left, spawning as the blue Zerg player, playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It's going to be dark. And in the top right, spawning as the red Protoss, playing for Team NV. It's of course going to be a Maru. Maru been in a pretty decent shape last few months. Some would even say that he was the greatest player of the second half of the year. Some even would say that he was the greatest player in the year. Especially when it came to his actual skill, I would say. His actual skill looked very solid and he looked pretty consistent. Difficult to beat. A very difficult man to beat. But the first half of the year, of course, did leave something to be desired out of our small Korean Terran player. I was going to say young Korean Terran player, but he isn't that young anymore. Everyone's growing up. I remember the day when Maru showed up as a 13-year-old at the GSL. Stunned everyone with his performance. These days are over though. He's still stunning people with his performance, but he's not 13 anymore. He's been playing this game for a very long time already. Factory's going down in his main base. As he opened up with a Reaper into Reactor. Which would indicate that this was a gas first rather than anything else. And I think this first drone out of dark is also going to die. So that's a good first pick-off here for Maru. Gets a drone for free, denies the third base. Will result in a fast third queen to be built here for dark most likely. Yep, there it is. Quick third queen will delay his hatchery. It's of course economically a little less sound. He'll pull out of gas right now and start speed. Keeps wanting gas actually. Yeah, this is... The problem here is that you're going to be saturating your main and your natural minerals before your third base will be done. So there will be one wave of drones, which ideally already would be mining from a third hatchery. And now will either be long distance mining, or will not be mining at all, because you turn them into Zerglings or something like that. So it's a little bit uncomfortable to play. Now the third queen of course does provide some value with faster creep. Slightly... Actually, it's not more creep. It's just a slightly faster inject on that natural. Because you're still using... This queen would always be using this for a second tumor anyway. And also would have its first tumor over here. So, not much changes there. I do believe you get your fourth queen maybe slightly faster. We see a really quick lair as well out of dark. So dark actually is going to be switching it up big time here. As he rushes out his lair. And... that could result in perhaps faster gases also being taken. And in that case, a delayed third base isn't that important. Because if you're taking faster gases, you're not going to be oversaturating your minerals. Which tends to be the main thing that you care about as a Zerg player. Let's go to a Roach Warren from here though. So Roach Warren. Second gas is being taken here. As Maru's opening up with a 2-1-1 builder. So that is 2 medevacs. Or well, sorry, 2 barracks, 1 factory into a starport. The follow-up will be, of course, 2 medevacs with 16 marines. And then after that, usually he flies across the map with a third medevac. See what he can get done with that. eBay is going to be slightly delayed. There's a couple of follow-ups from this that Maru likes to play. He likes to get a second factory, get that tech lab going, drilling claws, mines, all the good jazz. See if we can get some damage on that way. And other times we just see him straight go into those 3 racks and then perhaps later on into 5 racks. Third command center's on the way as well as combat shield here. And 1 mine in production. Third medevac will also start. The eBay tends to be delayed with this, so you can afford the combat shield. This is going to be for increased mine production, I can only imagine, right? So we'll see a factory be built on... Oh, it's a barracks. Okay, just going for a barracks on that second reactor here. We have this medevac being popped out. 2 more gases are being taken as well. Is this exactly 16 marines? Does seem to be the case, right? So you can maybe 14 actually. Okay, yeah, 2 more over here. That will bring us to 60. A lot of roaches out though for dark, who doesn't mind producing a lot of roaches in the early game. Then later on go into what has been kind of called the cave bob. That quick infestation pit, hydralisk den, low drone count into a 4th base, and playing very defensive until the lurkers are out. Maru specifically stated that he much more enjoys playing against Dark when he goes for roaches rather than when Dark goes for Ling Bane. Dark is a very, very solid Ling Bane player. We have been seeing it out of him a fair amount as well, but often in times of need he will go back to this roach type of style. These early game roaches, not necessarily for the timing, although of course there is 2 Evo chambers on the way right now, but more just, you know, for safety. It makes it easy to play that early in the mid game, but it makes it difficult to get into a good position. You will survive majority of the time till that late game, but you're just not going to be in the position that you'd like to be. As Maru starts his 1-1, we could actually be seeing a 1-1 roach push rather than the cave bot. That is a possibility as well, but it would be a weird order of doing things. The eco just is quite small here for Dark, and with such a small economy, it can be difficult to play a build order that is really meant to overpower your opponent, like 1-1 Roach. As I say that, we see the Infestation Pit go down, and usually quickly followed by a Hydra then. I have seen Dark open up with a couple of Infestors first though, at times. So perhaps that's the play he wants to go for. Get like 2-3 Infestors, get that Pathogen Cleanse going as well. Then go for that Hydra then, followed up by Hive and Lurker then. Of course, all possibilities. All of these paths are still open here for our Korean Zerg player, as Maru is just flying around with these medevacs. He's not getting much done, but the fact that he's keeping so many roaches on the other side of the map and that he's forcing this many roaches out, perhaps is plenty. That's enough. He doesn't need much more. You don't need to do damage to be ahead against these roach openers that Dark likes to play. Fourth base is naturally delayed very much. Dark, 7 minutes. 40 seconds into the game, is on 66 workers, 3 bases. Sure, the Hive is starting, and yes, we do have Infestors on the way. But the economy is just really poor if you compare it to any other Zerg open or any other Zerg composition. This would simply not be playable with Ling Bane. But when Dark plays Roaches, he doesn't seem to mind it that much. He's going to end up losing that Carapace upgrade, and that's actually a relatively big pickup here. So of course Marines deal a lot of very high rate of fire, which means that armor upgrades on the opposing units help a lot, which is also why attack upgrades help the most for Marines themselves. If you're a Protoss or a Zerg, you always want to deny the damage output of the Marine, as the Marine is the main DPS output from your opponent. Double drops will drop on the Queen, another pick. Maru is so keen on getting very small things, not getting over eager, just grab a Queen here and there. Took out that Evo chamber earlier, of course. Straight into Infestors, into Vipers. Perhaps afraid of a tank push. We have seen these double factory tank pushes really put in some work against Dark style every now and then. So these quick Vipers are not really a luxury, it's more a necessity. Of course, it's also a nice thing. Vipers are a little bit like soap, you know? You might think that it's a luxury, but really these days it's more a necessity. And I think it's the case here as well, you know? You feel like Viper is just another spellcaster. You already have your Infestors, your Roaches, you're going into Lurkers, but it's so important to have the Vipers, especially in these early stages against the tank pushes. Because pure Roach Ravager, it's good, but if you can Blinding Cloud a couple of tanks, that just helps so much in breaking open positions. Oh my god, that's a huge fungal there that he landed on top of all of these Marines and on that single Marauder as well. Marauder on the bottom also got hit. Will be smelly. Maru goes here for the pickup, as these Lurkers are now starting to morph. Dark actually, at this point, will be put in the driver's seat. Well, he stayed alive long enough that now he finally gets to drive the car. Maru realizes it's time to go home, but this is really the issue that I have with Dark style, is that there's no real threat coming out of Dark for the first 10 minutes. There really just isn't, right? Like there's nothing that Maru was afraid of. He could do whatever he wanted. He had time on his side. It really felt like that there was not a single second here where Maru was even remotely afraid of anything Dark could do. And then at the point where Dark gets into his comfort zone with the Lurkers, the ghosts are already out, because it's so easy to anticipate. So there's going to be 7 ghosts out. There's going to be more ghosts than Lurkers already, by the time the first Lurkers start popping. And do mind that these Lurkers don't even have the Seismic Spines upgrade yet. So we see the Lurker then over here. Seismic Spines is still 15-16 seconds away from finishing. This has a 5th base, 11 minutes into the game. It's not quite what you want if you're Dark. Sure, you're getting this 6 o'clock as well, and you're gonna get it up, but there's just going to be so many orbital commands. The ghost count is going to be ridiculous as well. And in combination with these ghosts and the tanks, there's actually a chance that Maru just straight up keeps pushing and kills you. I mean, the Lurker count is currently at 4. There's a Nidus network going down, but Dark isn't even safe yet. And he really hasn't been able to do anything whatsoever that game. You could say that's because of Maru's good control, keeping his opponent on their side of the map. But that's not really the case, because Dark just doesn't have the eco to trade out his units. He doesn't have the ability to trade efficiently into tanks on the other side of the map. He can't attack. Here comes Dark though with a pretty decent fight. Gets a couple of blinding clouds off. I think he missed 1 or 2 of his fungals though. In the end he's going to get a trade, but I'm not quite sure if this is the trade that he was hoping for. It's 10k resources lost for Dark against 7k of Maru. And usually I'd say, oh, that's fine for Zerg, right? That's actually kind of decent. It's better than you see most of the time from Ling Bane openers. But Ling Bane openers, you're up in eco the entire game. It's not the case here. Matter of fact, Dark has been down in eco almost the entire game. He's getting out-rotated, doesn't quite have any vision, to be honest, of that entire middle area. Towers neither. I mean, there's just nothing here. This doesn't necessarily mean that Dark is losing, because I've seen Dark in positions like this where he just ends up absolutely destroying his opponent with some good Nidus usage. And the moment Dark actually gets a little bit of momentum in this matchup, I do believe that he is somewhat unstoppable. It's really funny, because if you watch Maru play, he'll make Terran look really OP, right? He'll make Ghost look like the most broken unit in the game. And often it feels like the same for Dark. Dark will have these awful starts with these inefficient little build orders. But then once he gets into his comfort zone, where he can start running around with units, he's just so good. It's actually, yeah, it's really sick to watch. It's a treat to watch. And I hope that we do get to see that this game, as the first Nidus network is on the way. Maru, one of the only Terran players that very consistently keeps Vikings in his main base to snipe Overseers, Overlords. And of course, it also allows him to land these Vikings near any potential Nidus if they do show up. It's triple sensor tower at this point as well. See, this is the type of Viking I'm talking about. Does leave with these 2 Vikings from the main base. This is not quite the setup, by the way, that Maru requires here. He's going to get semi-cleaned up. This is a decent trade, I think, for Dark. Yeah, he's getting cost-efficient trades. And once Dark gets this watchtower, which often is absolute hell to deal with if you're a Zerg player, if you get your hands on that, if you give this much vision to a player like Dark, you give him the ability to do things like this. Little Lurker run-bys. Now, this doesn't look like much, and sure, Maru is going to be capable of cleaning it up. But look at this Lurker move, okay? Just look at the amount of times we're going to see it. Unburrow, burrow, resettle again, the amount of scans that need to be used. Watch, come on, please. Here I am hyping him up, he just loses his Lurker. Now, this Lurker is still going strong though, so at least we have one thing there. At the same time, Dark is also pushing forward on the left side, and a big portion of army did get split off to deal with this. I mean, this is about 20-25 supply. It really is just a single Lurker here right now. So you see Dark moving back, will settle it next to the tank. Tank will clean it up in the end. But this gave Dark a little bit of breathing room to A, push some creep forward, B, maybe set up any potential other attacks that he wants to get going. Liberators are now pushing forward. 86 workers for Dark, 78 for Maru. Of course, will mean that the army size of Maru when maxed out will be slightly larger. And every single time that Maru is not on one side of the map, that's where at least a single Lurker will be. At the same time, we have some defensive Lurkers set up over here as well. You see this Liberator moving in position to try and deal with some of these drones. It's really impressive how both of... Ooh. Oh. This is interesting. This is a very aggressive Nidus here out of Dark. Starts pushing in. These Banelings, if they connect with the Ghost, would be absolutely huge as well. Parasitic Bomb on these Medavacs. No split out of Maru. Now we get a split. Viking will still die as well, though. And Dark is just kind of... he's absolutely out-multitasking Maru here. He's just everywhere with these Lurkers. We saw an aggressive Nydus being used with this push. Queens are still cleaning this up. Lurkers now moving forward. This looked really cool. And I did believe that it was good as well. But resources lost-wise, it wasn't quite brilliant. It really wasn't. There's no Lurkers here whatsoever either, so there's no real backbone to this army. Now a couple of Lurkers are going to show up that will help this position a crap ton. There's no lips here, only a single siege tank as well. So I was complaining about the backbone here of Dark's army on this top side, but at the same time there's not a whole lot of backup here either for Maru. He's going to try and most likely succeed in sniping this hatchery. We'll get the pickup and move back to the tower. These ghosts will end up sniping some of these Lurkers. Seems like Maru is going to pack up and head back home. I like that move. Wants to deal with this Lurker. Once again, that Dark... this is so ridiculously annoying. Speed of these guys is phenomenal, of course. 433 here for Dark. 410 for Maru. Zerg APM, however, tends to be a bit inflated because of how they use the... good lord, what's it called? The choose ability target button. And the rapid fire, there we go. How they use rapid fire to build units, to spread creep. Truly to do anything these days. So, I'm honestly more impressed by the 410 APM out of Maru than I am by the 435 out of Dark. Because for Zergs it's just really common to have extremely high APM. But for Terrans, that's rare. That's really rare to have it this high. Banelings are flying forward, well, flying, rolling in. We'll get this planetary, or at least we'll get all of these SCVs. Lurkers will take care of the planetaries. These Banelings get shot down by the big cannon on top of the building. These guys will try to get a couple of snipes in. Once again, I'm not entirely sure if this was the most efficient trade, but this was a trade that I really did like. As first of all, it kind of broke the defense on the left side. It removed the planetary from the equation, which means that in the future from now, this base is a lot more vulnerable. It really is. The smaller run-bys especially. Not so much the bigger run-bys. You could even say that it's less vulnerable against big banelings and big lurker counts. But when we're talking about like 10, 20 links or something like that, yeah, having a planetary is genuinely quite useful. Dark pops into the main base here. It's kind of, well, stuck in the main base, I wouldn't say, but it definitely is in the main base. You can always, of course, leave again. Second Nyduses is going down as well. Maru's trying to get back into his production line. Not sure if that's going to be possible, though. Melee attacks level 3 have completed. Another Nydus network on the way. This Nydus starts popping out links like a madman. Oh! Queens start transfusing each other, and these Lurkers are moving forward as well. I really do like what Dark is doing here. Just taking out all of these factories in the main base, taking out all of these barracks in the main base as well. Still one factory here in the third. You have a lot of production being rebuilt at this point. But you just know that the moment you send... Oh god, triple Nydus. You gotta be kidding me. Triple Nydus, crazy bonanza. Oof, oof, oof. That's actually kind of wild. For faster unload and then he sends all of them in the same Nydus. You gotta be kidding me. But I guess it's for faster unloading and reloading and deloading. Very cool. Actually a pretty cool move. Dark is, I think, winning at this point. Pretty hard. But he hasn't necessarily won. Like, it's one thing to break Maru's main, but you can never break his spirit. No, well, you can break his spirit, but it tends to be kind of difficult. As this kid stays in games for very, very long, he'll have a lot of siege tanks still around. I think we have like 6, 7, 9 siege tanks, 2 liberators. He is pretty spread out. I'd almost call it urban sprawl here, as This 12 o'clock here is kind of under fire by these links. There's not enough backup, so 3 tanks will fall basically immediately. Nydus gets blopped down as well here by Dark. The Ghost will save the day and should be capable of taking out the Nyduses before it becomes too much of a nuisance. But at the same time, a Nydus over here would be really annoying as well. So there's just not any big defense anymore. Siege tanks have been taken out. And this large area that Maru needs to cover right now is really starting to cost him. He has a lot of important buildings, not only command centers, but also a decent amount of infrastructure when it comes to the production. Because the production infrastructure is up there, because it's not in the main base anymore. Freaking 4 barracks and a starport, like that's the majority of his infrastructure when it comes to the production. 3 orbitals also need to lift. Here comes Dark once again, puts an, well, almost a Manor Nydus at this point, it feels like. It's like, alright, I want to press some creep here, so you can't land there anymore. Dark is going to trade these bases, and I think that is a trade that, if you're in Dark shoes, is absolutely fantastic. This is the type of trade you want to be making. You're trading away one of your bases, which you can miss, against one of your opponent's bases, which he cannot miss. There's not enough mining possibilities here for Maru. He still has the miners, there's still plenty of SCVs, but these minerals are running dry. I guess there's, what, 4 patches here? There's 3-4 patches here as well, but ideally you'd be mining from a little more bases. Cloak Ghosts are going to clean up a large part of this army as the Ghosts return, and once again will clean up the... Well, will they actually? Still need to take out this Lurker here. Maru. There we go. Takes out the Lurker. A couple of links are getting burrowed as well. Not quite sure if Maru is aware of that. I mean, 2 links is not the end of the world if they stay alive. It's just nice to do kill them in the end. Nyduses gets taken out before it had the opportunity to unload. As Dark, whenever a base gets taken out, he takes it somewhere else. And not only that, he also retakes that same base the moment he can once again. Because he really wants to keep mining from his opponent's side of the map, keep being as aggressive and active as possible in this type of scenario. I really do like that. I really do like that. I wouldn't mind seeing these Vipers being used a little more though. It feels like they've been a bit on the back burner, which is fine. You don't always want to, or you can't always consistently be using these Vipers. But at this point where the game has died out a little bit and it is kind of stabilized again, I think these spellcasters tend to be the game deciders, more so than anything else. Having them with your Lurker army here would be absolutely huge. The poor 4 Lurkers, not actually hitting a single shot on this Marauder. Now this Marauder is just straight up gonna get killed. No. Will barely manage to survive. I think I've seen Neural Parasite being researched, and I am aware of how good Dark is with these Burrowed Infestor, Neuraling, well, here we go. In this case, tanks. Actually, he's gonna straight up break the position. I didn't think that Dark was going to be in time with the reinforcements. It seems like the cavalry agrees. Usually the cavalry always is in time, but for once it seems like they were slightly too late. The Infestor brothers have died out already. Now another Infestor is being sent in. Let's take a look. Is Maru seeing this? Is Maru seeing this? I don't think he is. We have a forward scan, couple of snipes going down. Oh yeah, these Lurkers are just straight up getting destroyed here. As Maru is looking to see if he can do something. If he can just win a big fight, that would be honestly huge. One big fight is all he needs. It's not like there's that much mining for Dark right now. There's a lot of orbitals and a lot of command centers in that main base. Vikings will stay alive, will help taking out these Vipers. 9 workers on the side of Dark going down as well. 75 army supply. Ooh. Need to be so careful. Big fungal! No, that was huge. That wasn't just a big fungal, it was a huge fungal. Now the Lurkers are moving forward, but the tanks in the back are still being extremely useful, providing a lot of backup for these Ghosts. In the main base, meanwhile, 2 Hydras, a handful of wild links, and a single Lurker are on cleanup duty, and they start fighting against these command centers. Balin's rolling in as well. We'll connect with a couple of these Ghosts. Still a single Lurker here. It's going to get scanned to death at this point. This Infestor is still absolutely banging in this position. Maru scans and snipes the Infestor that took over his friend's brain. Now these Lurkers move forward as the Blinding Clouds have been cast. I honestly think that this might be one of the final moves in this game. One way or the other, because if these Lurkers all die without getting enough damage done, Maru actually has a pretty powerful army, but he just barely doesn't have enough for a super solid cleanup. He does end up cleaning it up. It takes a lot of damage. Energy is low on a lot of these goes. We need to see a lift. We need to see no lift on the orbital command. Orbital command goes down. 47 army supply against 52. 21 workers against 68. There's still a lot of medeffects remaining. And it seems like Dark is gonna be doing it. GG gets called as Dark wins this game here on 2000 atmospheres. And what a beautiful way to end the year here. Maru versus Dark on 2K. Absolutely loved it. Lovely game. Surprised how long Maru managed to stay in and how low he could get Dark. Not only in that eco department, but also just in the army supply. I mean, ending with 121 supply there. It feels like if he is slightly more efficient in cleaning up these final lurkers, that he could have just straight up done it. However, wasn't the case. And instead we'll see a big fat dub here for Dark. That's going to be it for me. Thanks all so much for watching. Thanks all so much for watching all my videos in the past year as well. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you all next time for a new video. Bye bye.